Okay, we'll start. Good morning, everybody. We have a couple of live people. So just to clarify for anyone who's watching this, it is our very first week, Module 1. I will always record these and I will always post the recordings. So you may come live, but if you're not able to come live, it is not a problem. It does not cost you any points not to come live. So don't worry about that if that's a problem for you. So this will be our first one. We will have 6 of these. I will try and post all of these. So normally I run them on Monday mornings so that you have all week to start and get going. And they're usually posted and available to you by Monday around 11:30 in the morning, 11:15 in the morning. I will post an announcement showing you how to access those, how to find them, because it's not exactly intuitive where they are, but you're always welcome to come live or watch recording, either way. So if you are live, I will start talking. You can interrupt me at any point if you have a question. Just start speaking, but make sure that you put your mic on because I won't be able to hear you if you don't. Or you can find a way to raise your hand. Keep in mind that if I'm running a video of any kind, I don't always see if you send me a chat or see if you raise your hand. So you may have to interrupt me with by just saying hey, and then I will stop the video, answer any questions as we move along. So that's fine. I want this to be informal. I want this to be casual so that we can help you. So if you do have something, don't hesitate to jump in and interrupt, okay? All right, so let's share some content. I'm going to spend a minute or two just kind of walking you through everything that is in Blackboard, just to make sure that if there's anybody that wants to make sure that they understand what's going on and hasn't accessed Blackboard, that will be accessed. So give me a second here to make sure you can see everything. Okay, so if you can't see what I show you, please again say something to make sure that we can show you. Sometimes the show screen doesn't always follow with everything I wish it were, so don't assume it's you. If it's not the way you want it to, just let me know. Okay, so let's assume for just a second that you are just accessing your first online class and you've used Blackboard before perhaps, but maybe you haven't done it for a strictly online class. So we are doing this in a 6-week format. So that means that you have to assume that you're doing about 3 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks of work for every week, because a normal class is 16 weeks. So doing it in 6 weeks, it's not quite 3 weeks, it's a little more than 2. But there's a lot going on, so you cannot afford to get behind. So my recommendation for you is to take a look at all 6 weeks. You can see I have Module 1 up here, but you can see Module 1 through 6 here. To take a look at all 6 weeks of work real quickly, just preview it, and then think to yourself, where can I schedule this time in my calendar so I make sure that I'm able to do this. And I'm going to kind of, they gave you some suggested pacing stuff here, but I'm going to give you some more suggested pacings. This is a class that is organized by Indiana Tech. I do not put everything together. I help facilitate it for you. So I have a couple more suggestions. So because I'm normally giving you this video on Monday at the very beginning of the week, at the very beginning of Mondays, my suggestion is always to view it first as soon as possible, and then also do the reflection, right? Get that off of your plate right away. You really need to be doing something every day or almost every day in order to keep up with the work in the course. So if you are able to watch the video right away on Monday and do the tech live reflection right away, that's one thing that's off your plate. It also gives you kind of overview of where the week is going to go, so you have a feel for how much work you have to do, right? The second thing then you're going to want to start doing is all the readings, right? So preview the assignments, which I will do in the live videos so that you have an upcoming idea of what's coming. I will preview both the first project and also the last project. I want you to have a heads up about what the last project is going to be, because you're thinking through everything from week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is leading you to the project that's due at the end of the semester. So I want you to have a heads up about what's coming. Okay, So we will take a look at that. You'll also have in this class journals that will be due, and you'll be wanting to start those really early in the week so you have an idea of what to plan. Okay? Then usually there's a discussion board. Now that discussion board is usually so there's two parts to that discussion board, and always in every week. One is an initial post that you post something, we'll go over that. And then the second part is for you to preview and take a look at your peers and comment on them. Now, those are not generally due until, look over here, you can see on Sunday, right? Now, that's, in my opinion, a terrible idea, because if you are posting yours on Thursday and then looking at your peers on Sunday and then also turning something in on Sunday, that means you are not giving yourself a chance to look at their stuff and have it inform you about what you could do differently. And also, if you're not giving them peer reviews until right before it's due, the assignment's due, you're not giving them the chance to preview your comments and make changes. So I suggest that you post your initial post by Thursday, and then by Friday or Saturday, put your peer reviews in. That's going to help you the best, it's going to help them the best, it's going to make the class go a whole lot smoother. And then you have Sunday to take a look at your peer review comments and go, oh, wow, that's a great suggestion. Maybe I should make some changes, right? That gives you a little bit of time. Now, having said that, I know that everybody's schedule isn't the same. And some of you, maybe you work all weekend or have family lives all weekend and don't intend to do anything on the weekend. And that is totally fine. One of the great things about this class is that it is to be done at your own pace. So you can do things early, right? You can do them early and turn them in. That's fine. Now, I won't grade them any earlier. I will grade everything all at one time. But you're welcome to do them and turn them in. That is not a problem. Now, having said that, every once in a while, somebody will turn something in early, and they will ask a question in the comment box, right, for me. Or maybe they'll do the Tech Live thing, and they'll point out a question or a tech problem. I'm not going to see that until I grade everything. So if you have something that's time sensitive that you need a question answered from me, make sure you send it to email. I check my email every day, especially during the week. Sometimes not always on the weekends, but always during the week. I check it at least once, if not twice a day. That way I'm going to see it more fast and answer the more quickly, and then get that answer back to you in a more timely fashion. So if you've got a question, you're welcome to ask it in an assignment or something that you turn in, but I may not see it for a few days. So that's just a warning for you. All right, so this is kind of your Module 1 stuff. This is the overview. You can see that there's a lot going on, right? Now, some of this stuff we'll take a look at in this video, like the cultural iceberg video. We'll take a look at that again. Some of it we won't. Some of it you'll have to read on your own, and that's the next thing. So after you watch this video, the next thing is those readings, okay? All right, so that's the overview, and you can see that. Keep in mind over here on the left-hand side, there's a couple of really important things. One of them is the syllabus and schedule. So if you are wanting to see the overview for the course, you want to click on that course schedule, and then you can see everything coming up. You can see the due dates. Usually the due dates are going to be Thursdays and Sundays. Now, again, my suggestions, which I just told you, are to do things and turn them in at a different pace. So you can schedule that as you wish, but that's definitely my suggestion. The other thing is over here, there's a student resources. So if you see this, if you kind of go down the left-hand toolbar there and you see the student resources tab, when you open it up, there's stuff in there that you may not be aware of, even if you've taken a Blackboard course before. I want to point out the academic support tab. There is a tutor in there. So if you're clicking on this, you're going to see that there is an online tutoring session service for you. A lot of students don't know about this, and particularly for the English courses, this is really helpful. So if you click on that, you're going to see that there is a tutor guide. There's 24/7 on-demand tutoring for you that's free, right? So you're going to want to click on that and follow those instructions if you want to turn something in. Now, let's say you're a pretty decent writer, but maybe grammar's not your strong suit, or spelling's not your strong suit, or format's not your strong suit. You can take a rough draft and turn it in to this tutor center and get feedback usually in 24 hours So you usually there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can schedule a session with a live person where you can talk to them, or you can email this tutor service a paper, and then in 24 hours you'll get an email back with all the comments. So this is something that you can do totally for free. Just keep in mind that you'll get it back faster if you turn it into them earlier in the week, where at the end of the week they're more slammed with stuff because everybody turns stuff in at the end of the week. So it takes a little bit longer to get stuff back. So that's one option here that is a free service for all of you guys that people don't necessarily know about. Other things here, there's resources for APA formatting and MLA formatting. You'll be able to read about which one's which as we go through the course. There's also stuff about the Writing Center Live if you happen to be live on campus over at Indiana Tech and you're a student there and you're taking a regular 16-week course, but maybe you're taking this 6-week course in addition to that. You could go to the Writing Center Live or the Career Center Live. Those are options and also free. And then student success. There's always all kinds of stuff. So if you are on campus or near campus, you have a lot of great resources. Don't forget to use them. Okay? All right, so let's go directly to Module 1, Learning Resources. So if you open up Module 1, you'll see a section for Learning Resources. This is all the stuff that you're going to need for the first section. Okay, so notice that there's some readings up here, of course. Introduction to Primary Research. This is a research writing, so you may be familiar with writing in other contexts, but this one's going to be research. So make sure that you take a look at that. You're going to be doing some observations, surveys, and interviews in this class. So even if you're familiar with types of writing for, like say, collegiate or college type writing, this is going to be different. This is a course that is designed to help you with the work world as well. You may be encountering how to do research and how it might be useful to you in your career. So this is really useful for that. And you'll be discussing discourse communities. So what the heck is a discourse community? You're going to want to know that because you'll be choosing a discourse community that you're part of already in some other place. It could be athletics, it could be kids, it could be online, it could be gaming. There's all kinds of things that you could be choosing. You're going to be choosing one of those to observe in this particular class. So let's take a look at this video here.
In his book, Beyond Culture, Edward T. Hall developed the iceberg analogy of culture. The cultural iceberg theory suggests that, like an iceberg, there are only some aspects of culture which are visible or which, in other words, lie above the surface of the water. These can include language, food, greetings, art, music, and many others. These are the explicit manifestations of culture. They are easy to see, taste, or hear. But according to Hall's theory, these are only the tip of the iceberg. The majority of culture, like an iceberg, lies beneath the surface. These aspects are not immediately visible. They can include worldview, religion, spiritual beliefs, decision-making models, power relationships, respect for authority, concepts of time, and many others. These are the implicit manifestations of culture. They can exert an important influence over behavior, values, feelings, and thoughts. The more immersed we become in a cultural environment, the more these hidden aspects are revealed to us.
Okay, so pausing on that for just a second so you can kind of look at this. You may want to take a picture if you've got, if you want to take a screenshot, or you might want to take a picture with your camera. So I'm going to pause for just a second if you want to do that. Okay, so above we have the language, greetings, music, rituals, food, art, dress, right? Beneath that, as you can see, this giant part of the iceberg that we don't necessarily see, spiritual beliefs, religion, decision-making modules, power relationships, concepts of time, status, right? So those are things that you want to think about, maybe perhaps as you're contemplating what you want to observe. So that's the reason for maybe taking that picture in case you need some ideas. So like, what am I supposed to be doing with this observation? Now, of course, at this point in time, we haven't even talked about exactly what you're going to be doing. So you may want to, scroll back to that iceberg or watch that, 1 minute, 50-second video again a couple of times later on when it starts to make more sense to you. Okay. Now, notice there's a couple more readings. Can you tell the truth in a small town? Fleet blog. I never can say that. Fleet feet blog. Finding our tribe. That's a running community. So these are examples of types of discourse communities that you may be part of, you may not be part of, that'll give you an idea of what they look like or how they feel when you decide to choose. Now, let's take a look at the first assignment. So we're gonna look at a lot of different stuff here. So let me see if I can find the first one. Okay, there we go. We're gonna look first at the discourse community. That's project number 1. Okay, so there's project number 1. We'll also look at project number 3 as I promised later on. So this one is adapted from a writer called Catherine Lattrell. It's called Remix Writing and Composing Culture. And the prompt is this. So you're going to be writing eventually a 2.5 to 3 page essay. And it's about a discourse community that you're part of. And you're going to be describing what it is. So, first of all, you're like, what's a discourse community? Well, you're going to read that reading first, and then it'll make more sense to you, right? So you're going to read this review called Discourse Community and Culture. What is it? And you're going to identify then personal, geographical, academic, and social communities that you're already belonging to. You don't have to come up with a new one, something that you're already part of. And then you're going to identify some sort of daily activity that you share with those people. So it might be that you study with those people, or you take the bus with those people, or you work out with those people, or you game with those people, or you grocery shop. It could be any number of things that you do. And then you're going to look at that Fleet Feet blog. That's a community that can be defined by some sort of verb or action, right? So in the Fleet Feet, it's run. We run together. It could be any sort of action, right? Shop, ride, walk, phone, blog, whatever it is. So you're going to be then making this thesis, which will be blank is a community, right? That's really open and vague because all of you are parts of different communities. So you'll be figuring that out. And then you're going to be writing this essay in the following ways, right? So it'll be some sort of cohesive essay that answers these questions. What makes this group a community? What holds it together? We ride the bus together at the same time every day. We work out together. I'm part of a discourse community that's called the Warsaw Breakfast Optimists. Every Wednesday morning we meet and then we do stuff together. So I would talk about what that is. What do we do? How does that work? What interests, needs, and values do these people share, right? Well, with the Warsaw Breakfast Optimists, our goal, our mission is to help kids and students. So that's our right? So we're all ages, all kinds of careers, but our overarching goal is to help students. So we raise money and we give it to students, right? So that's the interests, needs, and values that particular group shares. What tensions or differences work against the cohesion of this community? Well, we've got people that are older that can't hear very well. So when we have speakers, sometimes they can't hear. That's a problem. Or we have younger people who are like, well, why can't we have a Zoom, or we could log in via Zoom? And the older people are like, no, we need to be live. So there's different tensions, right? What kind of tensions does a group have? How do you fit in with this group? What's your role? Well, I'm a board member. So maybe that's not the same type of way you fit in, but that would be how I would describe this particular group. What makes this community one that you want to be part of? Like, why do I want to be part of it? Why do I want to get up at 6:30 every morning on Wednesdays and go there? That's early in the morning, right? Is it the breakfast that they serve? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Is it the people? What is it about this group that makes me want to be a part of it? And how does membership in this discourse community impact your life? So the overarching mission goal of Indiana Tech is to help you have a life of significance and worth, right? So that's the question here is, how does membership in this discourse community make my life more of significance and worth? Okay, so that'll be what you'll be answering in your essay for project number 1. Okay, so what's the purpose of it? We have a multifaceted purpose. We want to broaden your view of the concept of a discourse community. We want to move from explicit, right? That's the top of the iceberg. Explicit are the easy things that we can see. Those explicit manifestations of culture, stuff I can see, to also include implicit things. Those are the things that are underneath in the iceberg, right? That they're there and they're weighty and they're huge, but we don't necessarily see them first, right? So implicit and explicit. Number 2, we want to reflect on how membership contributes to the life of significance and worth, right? That's your observations of it. Number 3, let's see here, and they can't count. I didn't do this, they can't count, but number 3, reinforce rhetorical knowledge by providing you with the opportunity to write an argument of definition. And remember, this is from ENG 1252, where you worked on writing an argument or a persuasive argument. And this is supposed to be number 4, but it's number 5. Build foundation for primary research techniques. That's our real goal here. We want to know that you know how to research in various ways, including for your future career. All right, so how do you start? What do you do when you're like, what am I supposed to do? So this is the approach we want to take. That's why we give you the Fleet Feet blog entry, Running as a Community, right? So just to give you an idea of what a community feels and looks like. We also give you the example of Kathleen Norris, who defined a community in a different place. She makes the argument that the plains are a community. It could be even lying is a community. People that lie are a community, right? So your community could be any number of different things, and you'll have to kind of brainstorm to think through what you want to do and what you want to choose. Here's some other examples. Loving the Chicago Cubs is a community. Voting for Joe Biden is a community. Wearing the t-shirt I Heart Dogs is a community. These are all like various communities that people are part of, right? So you don't have to it doesn't have to be a weighty community like the Warsaw Breakfast Islands Club. It could be something creative. You can have fun with this. That is all okay. So you're going to figure this out. You're going to be doing this. Here's a rubric. Now, in this class, we do provide rubrics for Project 1, Project 2, and Project 3. The purpose of the rubric is multifaceted, and the main one is for you to, so first off, before you start the project, read through this rubric and get an idea of what I need to do. Notice it tells you that this needs to be in APA format. So, hey, that's not MLA, it's different than APA. There's some guidelines provided. Notice it tells you I have to read the assignment criteria, I have to provide an introduction, I have to have a thesis, I need to have background, right? So first of all, read through this to make sure that you're on track before you write it. Okay. Then, when you're ready to turn it in, you want to go back through this rubric and ask yourself, did I meet all these criteria, right? So these rubrics are really provided for you to do a quick self-analysis before you turn something in. Okay, so make sure that you do go through those. So again, you're going to be doing this in APA format. You'll be using APA citations in the text if you refer to a source. You'll be using APA cover page. And at the end, it's called a references page for MLA. So make sure that you have all of those things. Rough and final drafts should have at least 2.5 pages. And notice it should look a little bit like this particular document in which, right, so we have, if you're looking at how this is shaped, you can see that, we have a 1-inch margin all the way around. This is your normal Microsoft Word document. You don't have to do anything different to it. Okay. All right. So at this point, I'm going to take a quick break just to ask you if there's anybody live that has questions so far. Okay.
Oh, so far so good, thanks.
Sure. Go ahead, I can hear you. Did you have a question?
Hey, this is Allison. I don't know how well I can be heard, but I didn't. So far, those are good. Those rubrics are really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you great, Allison. So yeah, I agree. The rubrics are really nice, especially when you can go through and check them up and say, yes, yes, yes. Oh no, I forgot something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's give you another one, another rubric, because you're gonna like that, right? So let me share an observation log. Okay. All right, so you should be able to see observation log. So in week or module 1, they're the same thing, right? Module, in this case, they use simultaneously with week 1. So we have 6 weeks, you have 6 modules. So the first thing you're going to be doing this week is an observation log. And let me actually, let me go back over here and change what you guys can see so that you can see everything. So hold on a second here. We want you to see everything. Okay. Okay, so let's go back over here to, I gotta find week 1. Okay, so you should be able to see here the learning resources for module 1. I'm gonna go back over to module 1 and scroll down a little bit. So there's the learning resources folder. Notice beneath that are the module 1 activities and assessments. So this is where you're turning things in. Okay, so, and I want to stop for just a second to point out this course preparation quiz at the top. That is vital that you guys do that this week. What this does is tell Indiana Tech that you are participating in the course. So it needs to be completed sometime during the first week of course, or they actually kick you out. We don't want that. That's bad, right? So they kind of look through this to see if you are participating. So make sure that sometime during this first week you do this course preparation quiz. What it does is has you look through the syllabus and make sure that you answer these questions so that we know that you're prepared for everything. Okay, so do that really fast. It won't take you very long. There's 5 questions there, but make sure that you do that. So then you can see this is where you're going to turn everything in. There's again the project 1. The project 1 file that I just looked at with the rubric is right here. I recommend that you print it off or save it someplace so that you can refer back to it through module 1 and module 2 so you can find it. The live 1 tech reflection that I talked about, which is you listening to this or attending this and then doing this, is right here. Okay, so you probably want to do that really fast. That's worth 10 points. And then Journal 1 and Journal 2. So we're going to take a look at those. Let's just open up Journal 1. Okay, so Journal 1 is 10 questions. These are informal questions. You'll be just answering. So I recommend that you just kind of copy, right? Highlight all 10 of them, copy them, put them in a document, a Microsoft Word document, and then answer the questions. Okay, so yeah, again, these are pretty simple in your own words. What's the difference between primary and secondary? Now, you'll need to do the readings before you do Journal 1 or Journal 2. Otherwise, you'll be like, I have no idea. What's the difference between primary and secondary? Right, so they're not intended for you to answer them off the top of your head or do your own research on the web, although you could. The readings will answer these questions for you. So do the readings, and then you'll do journal question number 1. Let's look at journal number 2. So journal 1 is pretty general, asks you to answer questions about research. Journal 2 is an observation log and a reflection. So in order to find that, you'll have to go back over to find the journal. Where is that? Okay, so project one, this is confusing. I don't like the way this is set up. So when you are trying to find the observation log for journal 2, you'll have to go over to module 1 and find the learning resources, okay? So remember the learning resources is all the stuff that you need, all the reading. So you'll kind of start and be going back between the learning resources and the places where you turn stuff in. So all the reading stuff is here, the video we watched, and the project stuff observation log. If you were looking for the observation log, it's right here. Okay, so observation log and report for journal 2. And you'll also use it again for journal 4 later on in the course, same thing, okay? So let's take a look at that. This is what it looks like. I think this is kind of fun. I hope you do too. So observation log, you're going to choose, what we call a double entry notebook, and I'm old school. So I actually use a notebook, and I take a piece of paper, and I draw a line with my pen, and I have 2 sides. You can do the same thing with Microsoft Word, so you just have 2 columns if you want to. So I'm going to pause for just a second. Let's say I wanted to do that real easily with a document. So this is what it looks like, right? We have a Microsoft Word document, blank. Let's say I want to have a double column thing of my own, and I want to know how to do it. I'm going to look at, I have to figure out where it is. All right, so under, see all these little tabs at the top? One of them is layout. So you always start in home automatically when you open it up. But when you want to look for a column, say you want to add 2 columns, go over to layout and see that there's a little section for columns, add columns. So I can tell it I want 2 columns, right? So now when I'm typing, notice it's only going halfway through the page. And then if I want to go to the other side, it won't go to the second column until I get to the bottom. Now, if you're like me, you like to be able to see the columns, right? So I can, and by the way, I can make as many columns as I want. So I could make 25 columns, and they would be really tiny all the way across if I wanted to. But if I want to see the columns, I go back over here to home where I started, right? And then there's this little box right here. See that for borders? And I can choose all kinds of borders. I can put borders on all sides of something. I can have no borders. I can have top borders, right? I can have tables. So I'm going to put borders on my right. See how there's a line there? And then I can see, I actually have one on the bottom there too, you can see, but there's a column there, right? So if I did get to the bottom of this column, then it would go back up to the second column. I'm not going to do that all the way, but you could see that we have 2 columns here, right? The other way you could do this, so let's start a new one again. Some people prefer this one. You can insert a table. Okay, so in this case, I'm starting at home. I'm going to go over to the Insert tab. See the Insert tab? So there's a table there. So I'm going to add a table. I'm going to click on Table, and it gives me lots of options, but really what I want to do is something simple. So what I want to do is I want to choose, see how I'm just highlighting that? And I'm just telling it I want 2 columns, and I want to be able to see the lines. Okay, so now I have 2 columns. I can type this one, observations. I can type it, whatever I want to at the top. You can do it that way too, and you can make this as many columns as you want to. So just keep in mind that Microsoft Word is very powerful and has some other options should you choose to play around with them. So just a little heads up for your observation log. So looking down here, you can see they have done something like this. The other thing you can do really fast, you can just copy that. I just made a copy of it. And again, let's say I want a new document. I can paste that over here. Make it easy too, right? Okay, so lots of options for you to play with. So what an observation log is basically this part at the top here. So your name, the discourse community, the date of observation, the time of observation, and the duration. So let's say you decide to do it on a bus. You get on the bus and like you're going to observe all the people on the bus. Tell us the date, that time, and I was there on the bus for 10 minutes. So maybe you'll do this 2 or 3 times as an observation. So notice you have 2 columns. One over here is the observations. This is what you're actually seeing. Okay, a student sits in the dining hall. He eats a piece of pizza. He drips oil. He says, "This pizza is good." So exactly what I see. On this side are your thoughts about it. So this particular person wrote, "It seems like the student really enjoys high-calorie content pizza." Whatever your thoughts are, right? They could be anything. So again, 2 columns, observations and thoughts, and you're just writing them down, right? So you should have a giant observation log. It's a way of taking field notes, okay? And then you will just, by the way, you can do this by hand, so you can totally write this with a pen. If you're on the bus and you're handwriting stuff, you can totally do that and turn in a handwritten observation log, not a problem, okay? So that's what you're going to be doing for journal number 2. Okay, so again, keep in mind the observation log here that you'll be doing for journal 1 and later on in class number 2 are found under the module 1 learning resources. Okay, so you'll just print it out, or you can take a sheet of paper and draw a line and say observations, thoughts, and just do it. It's intended to be very simple. So that's what you'll be turning in. Again, when we go back to module 1, okay, remember learning resources here, activities and assessments. So this is where you're going to turn it in. Okay, so journal 1 is answering questions. Journal 2 is the observation log. Okay, so again, the overview of the whole project is located here. So you'll be doing the observation log this week, and next week you'll be writing something about it. Okay, now I want to look ahead because this is. So at the end of class, you're actually going to be doing, this is project 3. So obviously there's project 2 in the middle, but I want you to think about this ahead. So let's take a look at this. By the end of the course, you're going to be using these observation logs to create something. So all of the class is intended to go together, okay? So you're going to have chosen a discourse community, right? You're starting that already. You're going to develop some sort of research question. You'll have more information about what those could possibly be as we move along. You're going to research this community using both your observations, and then you'll also be going out and finding resources on the web or sources that talk about your community. Okay, so you'll be using both primary research, your own observations, and secondary research, other people's thoughts. But then this is why I'm telling you about it. You're going to be sometime during the class conducting a 30-minute interview of a person that's connected to your discourse community in some way. So obviously you need to start thinking about who's that person going to be? What's my discourse community? Who's the person going to be? And how can I set this up? And then we'll be learning about how to develop types of questions as we move along. So there's also some advice about recording the interview, because you'll be recording it using your smartphone probably. So there's ways to do that for both Android and iPhone that are cheap or free, and what kinds of files. So if you're not familiar with recordings, which most people aren't, don't worry. They're pretty simple. If you're using any of these things, they will do it correctly. You will be submitting your interview file at some point in the course later on. So I want you to be thinking about that. The other thing that I want you to think about is this. In order to make sure that you are safe, we do require a consent form from the person that you're interviewing. So this consent form is also found here. It's pretty simple. It's just, yes, I give permission to do this interview and record it. It's pretty simple. And so you'll do that at some point too. But this does require you to think ahead. So that's why I wanted to point it out to you guys now, so that as you're thinking through Journal 1, Journal 2, and the discourse community you're going to pick, you might want to realize that this research that you're collecting will eventually have this as a component. Okay, so any questions about what will be coming? Another good reason to preview 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 so you know when things are due, right? Okay. I will remind you as we move along about certain things, but do kind of take a look ahead to see what's coming. Okay. Let me get rid of that. All right. Now I want to take a little bit of time to show you 2 videos to kind of show you why you might want to learn this observation skill. What's good for you about this observation? So I'm going to share the screen here. Let's go to screen 2. Okay. We're going to show you 2 videos. One, let's start with this one. One, this is a really short video that helps you to see how you might be good at observation. So let's take a look at this one. Okay, so it gives you a little bit of an idea of ways in which you might have to become better at observation. Notice that we're not very good, normally speaking, as observers, right? Or we think we're good at observers, but we don't really take the time to do it. So I'm going to end our course this morning with another video, and this is a TED Talk video that gives an example of why the power of observation is really useful. And it has a really cool example. So after this, there's an 8-minute video here. There'll be a couple minutes for questions if you want to ask questions, or you can jump out and go do carry on with your day. So let's start with this.
It's a real honor to be here today and speak to such an amazing group of young women. And as I look out at all of you guys, I know that you will do something to change the world. Some of you are going to start your own nonprofit. Some of you are going to become scientists and do something and discover something new. And some of you will invent new technology that may even cure cancer. So I'm here today to help you change the world. And to do that, I'm going to share with you an important lesson that I learned during my career as a scientist. I read this book called Miss Frumpius by Barbara Cooney. And it's a story about a young girl named Alice and her grandfather. And when Alice was young, her grandfather told her, "You must do one thing to make the world more beautiful." And so what Alice did is she planted flowers all around her community. She planted blue and purple and pink lupins so that everyone in her town could enjoy these flowers year after year. So for Alice, her mark of the world was a village full of flowers. But for me, I often wondered what my mark would be. How was I going to make the world more beautiful? So for inspiration, I would look to some of the most amazing women on the planet. You know, people like Rosalind Franklin, who discovered the helical structure of DNA, and Jane Goodall, who investigated the social structure of chimpanzees and dedicated her life to animal welfare. And Rachel Carson, who's an environmental activist and nature writer, who really exposed the dangers of using synthetic pesticides. And what I would think when I was a kid is, man, if only I were as smart as they were, then I could do something to make the world more beautiful. But the truth is, I really struggled in math, and I was a horrible speller. And so because of these shortcomings, I would sit back in class, not really say anything, and instead I would just sit quietly, observe the world around me, and ask questions. And what I learned over time is that there's a tremendous power in just simply observing the world around you. And today, I'm here to tell you that your intellect has nothing to do with your ability to make the world more beautiful. And it has everything to do with your powers of observation. Because when we can really see the world around us, then we can come up with new ideas and ask questions and be curious. And those questions lead to more questions and more game-changing ideas, and those ideas can eventually make the world more beautiful and change it for the better. So let me give you an example of the power of observation from a recent project that I did on nectar feeding bats. So during my PhD, I was very curious about how nectar feeding bats collect nectar from flowers using their tongue. And I believe in this project, I made the world a more beautiful place because my colleagues and I discovered something new about the natural world. We discovered something about the biology of these bats that no one had ever known before. And we were able to do that with our powers of observation and our ability to look at these tiny little tongues and come up and open our minds and come up with new ideas to how the tongue works. So at the beginning of the project, we filmed these bats kind of far away. We filmed them gathering nectar. And what you see here is the bat is beginning to hover, and it sticks out its tongue. And their tongues are really long. They extend way beyond the tip of the mouth, almost twice the length of the head. And this, I should have told you before, this is with a slow motion camera that we were able to capture this. The problem with this video is that it's a little bit far away. So we had questions about how the tongue is actually used to collect nectar. So we need a closer look at what's actually happening at the tip of the tongue. So to do that, we need to pull out a different set of observation tools, like the microscope, and take a closer look at the tongue. So this is a magnified image of the tongue tip. And what you can see is that it's covered in hundreds of hairs. And those hairs are really organized into discrete rows. So if you take a second and touch your own tongue, you'll notice that it's covered in bumps. Hundreds and hundreds of bumps. But our tongues at the tip aren't hairy at all. But these nectar-feeding bat tongues are so hairy that they almost look like mops or brushes. So we take a slightly different tactic in our observation scheme here, and we look at the inside of the tongue. So we're going to take the cross-section of the tongue tip right at this black arrow, and this is what the tongue would look like. So what you notice is that the inside of the tongue is full of muscle fibers. And those muscle fibers run along the width of the tongue, as well as extend up and down within the tongue. But you also notice that there are these enlarged blood sinuses at the edge of the tongue. And those blood sinuses communicate directly with small blood vessels within each one of those hairs. So far, we've observed a couple of things. First, nectar-feeding bats have long tongues. Second, they have hairy tongues. And third, they have enlarged sinuses within their tongue. So now it's time to stitch all of these observations together and figure out how this tongue is actually working. So I hypothesized that nectar-feeding bats have hydraulic tongues. So as the tongue elongates, it squeezes blood to the tip. And as blood arrives at the tip of the tongue, it fills those blood sinuses and is squeezed out into each one of those hairs. And when that happens, those hairs start to move. We hypothesize that as they move, they're going to extend outward as it hits the nectar. So this had never been hypothesized for other mammals before, so no one really believed me. So what I needed was visual proof that this was actually happening. So I went back to my observation tools, and I pulled out the slow motion camera again, except this time I used a color camera. So I was able to actually see the bright red blood moving into the tongue tip. So during this filming process, my colleagues and I made several more observations. One is that the hairs are really dynamic and they flare outward, extending onto the tongue. But also, as they flare outward, blood goes into those sinuses and into each one of those blood vessels. So really, really exciting observations about mammals. So with our powers of observation, we're able to discover something new about the biology of these bats, just like these amazing women had discovered something about DNA and chimpanzees and synthetic pesticides. So making the world more beautiful has nothing to do with how smart you are in your intellect. It has everything to do with your power of observation. And to me, that's an idea worth spreading. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you a real live example of something that was an observation and how it was useful to someone. That'll end our class time today unless you guys have some questions. Any live questions from the people who are here?
Nope, nothing at this time. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will see you guys next week, and don't forget to do the live tech reflection.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Have a great Monday.
Too.
Giselle, any questions?